had to relocate this spare tire to the back because this tire was way too big to fit in that area. So I ended up making a whole bracket over there. And there is a ratcheting system. I put an extension on it and it comes out over here using the ratchet and the lever over there. Once you undo those two nuts, you can slowly lower this unit all the way down to the ground. And that's the emergency. This is where the emergency brake glad hand connector used to be. I swapped this out for a 1/2-inch air fitting. This is how you run all the air tools and the air hoses, everything, whatever you're gonna be running. This is the original bumper. It didn't have a winch when I bought it. I ended up buying this winch unit from Eastern Surplus. And that's a spare drive shaft that I picked up just in case. I also do have some shear pins. This is the winter kit to cover up the radiator and the headlights in the winter. There's a fire extinguisher. I have 6 jack stands rated at 6 tons each. I have actually had this truck with all its wheels off, just sitting on these jack stands, and they're fine. I have a high pressure air gauge. This is a dual stage 12-ton hydraulic bottle jack. This works really good because it's dual stage. It actually sits really low, so even if you have a flat tire, let's say, you can actually put this underneath the axle, because most of the bottle jacks that they sell, they're way too tall, and once, you know, if you have a flat tire, there's no way you'll be able to get that in. You might have to put it somewhere else, support it, block it, you know, lower it, move it over. With this one, it goes right in and it goes all the way up. I forget the actual limit. The maximum is 23 5/8. It goes up pretty high. I have 2 full cans of gear oil. This is supposed to be for the axles, and I believe the transmission and the transfer case use the same one, if I'm not mistaken. I also have a pump for it. I bought these because my goal was to actually completely rebuild the axle seals. That wheel over there has a very, very slow leak. It just gets barely wet on the inner lip of the if you look over here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it now, you end up getting like a couple drops underneath the brake drum. And because of that, I bought all these parts. I'll show you the invoice. Inside this box is it's a remote brake fluid reservoir. I wanted to get this because on these trucks it's hard to see the brake fluid level, and there's actually a metal reservoir that's underneath the cab. There's a little cover that you have to open, and you have to unscrew the cap on the reservoir, and you have to look inside it. This unit is supposed to mount inside the cab, right by that vent over there, right near it. So this way, when you're inside the cab, you can basically just look down and see the level. It doesn't bypass the original reservoir. This just basically feeds the reservoir that's already on the truck. But by looking at this, you can see where your fluid level is. If you start to notice that the fluid level here is dropping down, that means you have a problem. So it just makes it easier to, you know, catch a problem if you already have it. There's a set that gives you every single coolant hose for the truck. Inside here are all the seals, the boots for the front axles, and the clamps. Every single axle seal is in here. And also inside these boxes down there, you have a silicone axle boot set with clamps, front axle seal set, keyed axle nut, lock washer, Rear axle seal kit with gaskets. Brake wheel cylinders. So there are 6 new wheel cylinders. Outer wheel bearing set, inner wheel bearing set, that's for each wheel. Coolant hose set, radiator cap, there's a spare radiator cap in there. Alternator belt set, and 2.5 ton compressor belt set. So basically a whole bunch of spare parts in these boxes, enough to rebuild every single axle, left and right, every single wheel bearing, seals, and the brake shoes and wheel cylinders. What else? There are some extra spare parts in here. That's the emergency brake glide hand. I also bought this ignition switch, so this way I never had a chance to install it, but this way I can have a key for the truck so someone can just start it up and drive it away. These are spare wiper blades. I have a set of filters, some extra antifreeze, some seals and gaskets for the filters. I have 3 brand new headlights, some hardware that I had removed off the truck, some spare hardware. This is a extension for the air, for the rear hubs. I extended the what do you call the air valves, the tire valves, so this way it's easier to access from here right at the hub, so you don't have to go behind it, or you know. I also didn't want it facing this way. So this is for the heating system. There's a pressure, 2-tank pressure regulator with valves, some vents. I ended up getting 2 different length exhaust vents for the heating unit. This is a cover that's supposed to cover these units. This is a dual carbon monoxide and propane gas alarm. So this way, if you have any kind of a carbon monoxide or propane leak inside the cabin, you know, it'll give you a warning. This is the burner. Multiple boxes, so I don't know. I think this is just the lid. The lid is separate in that other box. It's a 3-burner lightweight unit. Those are ducting for this heater unit. All these parts, this is actually used as well. It came off the same RV that the refrigerator and the generator came out of. I tested all these parts. That's why I have all these hoses and, you know, lines connected to it when I was testing it out. What else do we have? All the metal. So I have some cabinets with drawers, 2 of them. This one is supposed to be for storage. My plan for this was to put a cushion on top so it doubles as extra seating and storage underneath. Those are all the parts for the refrigerator, all the shelving, the doors. I have 2 queen-size mattresses. Believe it or not, there's one of these inside this box. It's vacuumed, so this way it takes up very little space. But this one is sealed in its own packaging. It's never been used. I just opened this up to, take some measurements off of it to make sure that it's exactly what I need it to be. This is also a takeoff of another RV.